Putting casing trim around windows and doors is one of those skills that every trim carpenter has to master. Personally, I like to use 2 different sizes of nailers to attach my casing trim. I want to make sure that my trim is matched up as tightly as possible to the door jamb, so I like to use an 18 gauge brad nailer on the inside edge, and I'm generally going to put those nails every 8 to 10 inches down this inside edge. And then when I go to the outside edge, I'll use a 15 gauge angled finish nailer. Most of the time I use 2.5 inch nails because I just want to make sure that I get everything pulled up as tightly as possible. The last thing I want to do is have a joint that I've really spent a lot of time on and then it move and end up not looking any good at all. You can't really do anything about shrinkage from the wood drying out or even the MDF drying out, but I want to get it nailed as tight as possible to minimize that. One of the things I really like about this new 18 gauge nailer is that the driver is actually smaller than the head of the brad. So what that means, I'm going to get the smallest possible hole on the inside edge of this trim to have to fill. It's going to really be just simply the size of the head of the brad that's going to be going in, not the driver making the hole. So I'm going to start nailing off this casing trim by putting an 18 gauge brad every 8 to 10 inches, and then I'll switch to the 15 gauge nailer and put a nail about every foot to 14 inches. Now it's really important to keep a close eye on the reveal that you get as you're going down. After you've done it enough, you'll be able to eyeball it. But until that time, if you want to, there's all sorts of gauges that you can get to help you maintain the proper setback. And that's traditionally anywhere from 3/16 to 1/4 inch. Okay, I'm happy with the joints on my trim now, so I'm just getting ready to put some glue in the corners and nail it in place. One thing though, this is MDF. We've been using a lot of MDF because it gives us a really good looking finished product at a very affordable price point. There's one thing about MDF though that's different than using wood, and that is when you get ready to put a nail through the corners, which we always do, to kind of suck the joint down and hold it in alignment, you need to use a headless pinner for that. If you try to shoot an 18 gauge fastener down through that corner like you would if you had a wooden casing, it's just going to split. I always start nailing in the middle and work my way out to the sides. Now next I'm going to go ahead and pin those mitered corners down through from the top. So I can put even 4 of those in there without splitting it. I wouldn't get one 18 gauge brad in there without splitting it. As you can see, that sucks that joint down nice and tight. And another thing that's important, a great fitting miter joint doesn't just have a tight fit this way, it has to be in the same plane in and out. If one piece is cocked out past the other one, when you put the paint on it, it's really going to stand out. So it's not just how tight of a joint you have this way, it's whether the faces of the 2 moldings line up or not. And that's another reason you want to put several headless pins in there, is to keep it lined up. Now the last thing I'm going to do is put a few more of my 15 gauge nails through, but I'm not going to nail anywhere close to this outside edge. I'm just going to put these nails up in the middle. That's pretty much the basics of casing a door or a window. I end up using 2, sometimes all 3 of my different sizes of nailers, especially if I'm working with MDF.